Choosing the right college is not an easy decision, and today I'm here with D2 wrestler Nick Konyk to discuss why you may want to consider wrestling Division II. First thing I want to ask you is what stood out to you from Mercyhurst as a Division II program when you were deciding where to wrestle?
First of all, you kind of have to look at education. My parents really instilled this in me early, and I'm glad that they did. Wrestling doesn't go on forever, and it's very important to focus on your education, and that's always going to be a top priority. And then you have education, and then you have wrestling. That was real big for me. It did kind of depend on money a little bit, but I'm lucky enough that my parents were willing to go that extra mile, and they have helped me a great deal. So yeah, I think it's not as wrestling oriented as it is, education and obviously monetary.
I think that's a big thing that a lot of kids need to, high school kids, you got to think about is not only are you choosing a program to wrestle for, but you're also choosing your education for the future, for your life, and I think that is really important.
Yeah.
So was Mercyhurst the first school you visited, or did you go to a couple other schools before you committed there?
I was actually at a couple Division III schools. I'm not going to name all the places right now, but it wasn't a wrestling thing. Everyone who I've met, all the coaches have been amazing to me, and they've helped me so much. Ultimately, my coach right now kind of is what sold me on the program more than anything, and sold me on Division II. Every division, you're going to find people who are tough, and you're going to get, more than likely, you're going to get beat everywhere you go. So, I would get beat by people of every division, I bet, but it didn't come down to the skill level of each division.
So what do you think, like from D2 to D3, like what do you think that pushed you over the edge? Like, was it something your coach said, or was it something that he said there was this difference that you would want to wrestle there? Or was there a big difference there?
I kind of told him the story of how I tore my ACL whenever I was a junior in high school. I was out that whole year. I didn't get to wrestle, and then I came back my senior year. I didn't perform as well as I wanted to, and I think that injury helped me mature, and I felt like I had something more to prove. I wanted to push myself with Division II. Wrestling in any division is what you make of it. Mm-hmm. So I could have chosen Division II or Division III and pushed myself the same amount. But again, it wasn't up to the toughness of each division.
Right. And now, as you were in high school in your senior year, did you receive any recruitment letters from Mercyhurst, or were you reaching out to those colleges to say you wanted to wrestle?
I kind of got a text from their coach, who was contacted by our coach, and asked if any wrestlers were interested, and they kind of threw out my name, and that's kind of how it happened. Like I wasn't receiving this great deal of money. And it wasn't about that. It was just, I knew I wanted to wrestle at the next level, again, because I didn't perform like I wanted to. So, yeah, I think that was it.
Yeah, and you brought up the money a couple of times already, and I think that's a very interesting topic to go into a little bit, is how big of an impact did money have in your decision? Do you think it should affect people's decision in choosing the right college?
College, whether you wrestle or not, it's an investment, and it ultimately will help you out in the future. There are also, college, no one has to go to college, and I've always believed that. And there are people who do amazing without college. And, I've had friends who are still in college who are going to, go to get their master's in the next level. And then there's kids who just worked out of high school, and, like I've seen the hardest workers on both ends of the spectrum. Some people can't afford college, and it's all about what you make of it. So if you can't afford college, then you just have to work your butt off. And the same thing, whenever you're in college, it's just I think it's a different kind of work.
Yeah, I think you're 100% spot on with that. Talking a little bit from high school, what was your, I guess, training regimen in high school, and how did that shift into college? Like, were you lifting more in college? Are you going to wrestling practices more? Can you talk a little bit about that?
In college, it's a lot more independent. You're kind of responsible for yourself. In high school, you have your own practices, which I like. You go to every one of those, and you go to the team lifts if you have those, and if you're a part of a club, you go to that. In college, you don't have clubs, but the good thing is you have however many guys on your roster around you. You just shoot them a text, and it's more on you. So you push yourself as hard as you want to be pushed, and I think that was really big for me, and how I've you know kind of progressed throughout college. Is as a freshman, I really didn't want to do anything, and I didn't perform well at all. And then I started wrestling around with guys. I started lifting on my own. I kind of got dedicated to that, and the results have definitely showed that. So I think high school, for myself, I wasn't mature enough to realize I had to do all of those things.
Right.
And I didn't push myself like I am right now. So it's definitely helped me learn.
Oh, it's a tough transition, and one that you need the help of your teammates or your coaches or just your friends to kind of get you to push yourself. But it is a lot of self-motivation. And I think that's what's great about wrestling, is there is a lot of self-motivation in wrestling.
Yeah.
But talking a little bit about that pushing yourself in wrestling, how did also you transition out of the classroom? So like, what was in Division II, like what's your work-life balance, between wrestling practices, between school, between life, going to other events? What's that like?
Yeah. In winters in Erie, I guess it's kind of a good thing that they're so bad, because your social life wouldn't be great otherwise. You're not trudging through snow. But you go to classes during the day. We have practices around 3 o'clock, probably go 5:30, 6 o'clock by the time we're done. As a team, we'll go to eat at one of the halls. And then after that, we have study halls every night, 7 to 9. You have to get a certain amount of hours in every night, depending on your grade point average. So I really think that part is good that we have. And I think a lot of teams should do this, but you have to have this study hall time where everything stops, and you don't have this group of wrestlers who are out partying. Everyone has to be in the library at one time. You're not missing anything. You're all getting your work done. And that's something that our coaches have really pushed towards, and really pride themselves on, is our good grades. And that's something that we don't want to lose,
Right.
because he's always instilled in us that wrestling doesn't go on forever.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have something else.
Yeah, and you're there for the education too, just as much as you're there for the sport. So that is really good to hear about. So another thing, talking, going strictly into like the D2 stuff, how do you think it differs from Division I? Are there any, schedule changes? Like, how many matches do you wrestle, duels? Do you think there's, what do you think the biggest difference is there?
Well, at a lot of open tournaments, we've seen like Ohio State, Michigan, places like that. So we are exposed. Like, there's not this clear cut between divisions. I've wrestled kids from every one of them, from JUCO up until Division I. But Division I, obviously for me, I would be pushed a lot harder, I feel like. And that would be a lot more of a mental thing. Those guys, their work ethic is just crazy. And I strive to be like that. I strive to have that work.
Yeah, and not to say at all that there's not, like you said, like you still have to have that tough work ethic in Division II. It's not like you just slack off at all. Like, it's still tough in every single division. You're going up against tough guys. So what do you think, if somebody's thinking about going D2, what do you think the biggest benefit is for them to make that decision to go and wrestle Division II?
I'm always thinking about grades, obviously. With Division II, there's a lot more flexibility on where you choose to go. And I think that there's a stigma about, saying that you're going Division 1 and going Division 2, Division 3, and I really think that that should be, put aside, because a lot of people don't realize this, and people outside of the sport of wrestling don't understand that it's going to be tough either way. Wrestling in college for a lot of people is very difficult, and some people can't handle it. And I think if you're struggling with grades, wrestling needs to be put aside. And I've done that before too. I've put my workouts on hold, and I've done that just for the sake of what's important.
Now, if you're interested in wrestling in other divisions, or you're just wondering on what other college you should wrestle for, make sure you check out these other videos so you can learn a little bit more. Thanks for watching.